I used to think I had found my life partner, but it turned out I was just a stepping stone she had planned to climb on. I'm Nathan, 32 years old, the owner of a mobile sandwich shop, a business I built from the ground up. Not a glamorous career, but it was enough for me to live comfortably, save for the future, and most importantly, enough for me to give Amelia, my girlfriend, the things she had always dreamed of. After 3 years of dating, I proposed to Amelia. She nodded through tears, and I foolishly believed they were tears of happiness. We started planning a big wedding just like Amelia had always wanted. A lavish ballroom, a custom-designed wedding dress, an outdoor cocktail party. The over $80,000 in savings I had accumulated over several years was also used to pay for it without a single complaint. I thought that when you love, you should give your all. But I was wrong. It happened one Saturday afternoon. We were having a small BBQ in the backyard. Friends, food, laughter. Everything seemed perfect. I was grilling when I realized we were out of beer in the cooler. I went inside, following the small path to the garage to get more. It was then that I heard voices from the slightly open window. Amelia was sitting at the outdoor table with her two best friends, Harper and Jade. I wasn't trying to eavesdrop, but when I heard my name in the conversation, I stopped. And then every word spoken was etched into my memory forever. Only 2 months left. Amelia sneered, the sound of glasses clinking. He thinks he's marrying the love of his life, but really, it's just his ticket to upgrade her life. Harper burst out laughing. At least he knows how to spend money. You chose well, Jade said casually. How long will that sandwich truck romance last anyway? Who wants to introduce their husband as a food truck owner? Amelia burst into laughter, a laugh I heard for the first time. And perhaps it was the last. Exactly. His little dream will end right after the honeymoon, a year at most. As for the property division, I've already asked the lawyer. I stood frozen by the door, the cold beer can numb in my hand. Every sentence, every word, like knives stabbing into my heart. Amelia, the woman I planned to spend my life with, was plotting to kick me out of her life as soon as her wedding dress was dry cleaned. I don't know how I made it back to the backyard, put the beer cooler down and continued grilling. Amelia skipped over and hugged me, her voice sweet and pleading. Honey, I just saw this premium wedding videography package. Can you take a look? I smiled, gently, softly. Anything you want, sweetheart. Her eyes lit up, and she hugged me tighter. If she had looked closely, perhaps Amelia would have noticed my hand was trembling slightly as I flipped the meat. But she didn't notice, or rather she didn't care. That evening, after everyone had left, I sat alone in the backyard. The night was quiet. The chirping of insects filled the air. I didn't cry. I wasn't angry. Just a chilling coldness crept through me. The coldness you feel when you realize you've loved a dream, not a person. But I'm not the kind of person who gives up easily. I had built my sandwich shop from nothing. I had gone through months of sleeping in the back of my truck, drowning in debt just to see my tiny logo for the first time on a beat-up food truck. I couldn't collapse that easily. If Amelia thought I was a stepping stone for her to climb on, she was about to discover that some stepping stones know how to shatter under the feet of those who despise them. From that moment on, I started making a plan, recording audio, taking screenshots, saving every receipt, every transaction. She wanted to play a game of deception. I would show her that the real game had just begun, and when the wedding day arrived, she would receive the most unexpected gift of her life, a gift from me. From the very stepping stone she had scorned. The days after the BBQ passed like a shattered dream. I was forced to play along with Amelia. Had no idea I had woken up. She still chatted about new dress designs, expensive floral packages and wedding concepts, so extravagant that just hearing about them made my bank account cringe. And I smiled. I nodded. I memorized every detail, every cost she requested, every payment she casually assumed I would make, as if it were the obvious duty of a stepping stone. Every time she smiled sweetly, I would just nod slightly, my hand silently pressing record on the phone in my pocket. I no longer looked at Amelia with love. I looked at her like a math problem, a problem I was determined to solve in a way she would never anticipate. One weekday afternoon, while Amelia was at the spa, trying out a pre-wedding emergency skincare treatment, I sat alone in the garage, my laptop open in front of me. The list of wedding vendors. I had contacted almost all of them. I met with each one. I showed them the audio recording the evidence of my future bride calling me a dumb mule and a walking wallet in her chats with friends. Their reactions varied: shock, outrage, and in most cases, sympathy. Some vendors, those who had faced similar stories before, quietly agreed to help me. The contracts remained the same, but the final payments would hang in the balance waiting for the wedding day. If I didn't show up, Amelia would be solely responsible for all the expenses with no way out. I transferred all my remaining savings into a new account, one Amelia knew nothing about. I double-checked every major transaction I screenshotted, all the messages she sent to her friends, bragging about her plan to upgrade her life and get alimony from me after the wedding. Careful, meticulous, leaving no trace behind. I knew when the moment came, this silent preparation would be what saved me from any false accusations. One afternoon, while I was working at the food truck, my phone lit up. A message from Ella, Amelia's younger sister. "Are you free to talk? I need to see you." We met at a small, quiet coffee shop. Ella looked worried, her eyes sad. I don't know how to say this," she began, "but you deserve to know, even if I know this might turn my whole family against me." Then, Ella placed a series of screenshots in front of me. Amelia's personal Instagram, where she had posted cryptic statuses for her close friends. "Hang in there, only 2 months left. The life upgrade plan is on track. See you all at the divorce party next year." I flipped through each photo, each line of text. No anger, no disappointment, just a confirmation of everything I already knew. Ella looked at me, her gaze sincere. What are you going to do?" I smiled slightly. "Just wait and see." From that day on, everything in the house felt like a grand stage. Amelia, the perfect bride-to-be, Nathan, the dreamy groom. She continued to plan the extravagant wedding as if the whole world was at her feet. But I knew every dress she tried, on every cake she chose, every bouquet she ordered were just props for the final act. I had already written the script for the big day, a script she had never dreamed of and could never escape. Every night while Amelia slept, I sat at my desk finalizing the last steps. The guest list had been revised. The closest people had been subtly informed of the truth. Evidence was stored in multiple places. And the video, the recording of Amelia's vicious conversations with her friends, had been neatly edited, ready to be released at the opportune moment. My hands no longer trembled. I was just counting down the days, every hour, until my beautiful bride realized. The stepping stone she was treading on was turning into the perfect trap. Then the wedding day finally arrived. That day the sky was a deep blue, the sun shining brightly, the kind of weather people dream of for their big day. Amelia stood in front of the mirror, a magnificent wedding dress on her hair in waves, a radiant smile on her face, completely unaware that in a few hours everything she had built would collapse at her feet. I straightened my tie in the mirror, admiring myself in the neat black tuxedo. Not a hint of fear, not a flicker of hesitation. Today I wasn't walking down the aisle to make vows. Today I was walking down the aisle to end a play. The church was beautifully decorated. Guests gradually settled into their seats, the murmur of whispers like gentle waves. Amelia kept texting impatiently. "Are you here yet? Don't make me worry, honey. This is going to be the best day of our lives." I smiled wryly. And now it was time. At exactly 10:00 a.m., as all eyes turned towards the grand entrance, anticipating the bride's arrival, I picked up my phone and sent a pre-prepared video file to everyone. My family, her family friends, guests, and even the vendors. A short video. In it, Amelia and her 2 best friends were giggling. "Just need to get married and get the money, then we'll kick him to the curb. There's no way I'm spending my life with that stupid sandwich truck." Attached were screenshots of messages bragging about her plan to divorce once she had enough alimony, and cryptic Instagram statuses about upgrading her life. I pressed send. That was it. Done. I took off my tie, removed my tuxedo jacket and hung it neatly on the back of a chair, and left the church without looking back. The first barrage of messages exploded on my phone. Just 45 seconds later, frantic calls from the church echoed down the street, even after I reached the parking lot. "Nathan, where are you? What's going on? Please come back." I silently turned off the ringer. Key turned. Engine roared. And I drove away, taking with me the freedom I had almost buried myself. Inside the church, Amelia stood frozen. Her phone rang incessantly. Friends and relatives whispered. Her mother tugged at her sleeve, demanding, "What the hell is this? Amelia, is this real?" Amelia trembled. She burst into tears, not out of pain, but because her plan to upgrade her life, a plan carefully calculated for months, had exploded in front of everyone. No money, no wedding, no saving it. Only shame washed over every gaze directed at her. Ella. Amelia's younger sister, the only one in the family who sided with me, told me what happened next. Amelia screamed, blaming her friends for betraying her. She knelt down, begging her parents, trying to explain that the video was edited, that it wasn't what everyone thought. But no one believed her, because in the video itself, from Amelia's own mouth, the venomous words had flowed clearer than any excuse. Her family, who had put down deposits for most of the wedding services, were stunned to realize they were also victims. Debts piled up. Whispers in the small community where they lived began to spread like wildfire. Amelia didn't just lose the wedding. She lost face, lost her reputation, lost the future she had so boastfully envisioned. I didn't attend the reception, but I did ask Ella to do one small thing: keep the buffet that had been ordered, remove all the wedding flowers and the bride and groom sign, turn it into a casual lunch so the guests wouldn't leave empty-handed. Apparently the food was good, the drinks were strong, and the gossip about the great escape made the party more lively than any traditional wedding. That afternoon, as I sat alone in my quiet house, my phone kept flashing. "You can't do this to me. I'm going to sue you. You've ruined my life." I just smiled, because the simple truth was, I hadn't ruined anything. I had just stopped allowing myself to be used. The rest, she had destroyed herself. In the days after the failed wedding, I no longer heard the constant ringing of my phone. I shut down all social media, locked my old accounts. I withdrew from familiar places, not out of fear, but because I no longer needed to say anything. The truth had spoken for itself. Amelia wasn't so lucky. The very next day, she tried to control the narrative with tearful posts on Facebook. I was the victim of a toxic relationship. I was betrayed on the most important day of my life. But then the audio recordings and messages she had sent her friends bragging about her post-wedding divorce plan began to be shared everywhere by her own relatives. The small town buzzed. Friends unfriended her family, cut ties. Amelia's parents, who had proudly boasted about their daughter's upcoming grand wedding, now had to sell their newly bought SUV to pay off the non-refundable deposits. Over £300,000 vanished in just a few hours. Worse still, Amelia was fired from the real estate company where she worked immediately after the incident, not because of the scandal, but because in a fit of rage at the office she had thrown a mug directly at her manager's face when asked about the failed wedding. That scene, of course, had quickly spread through the internal security cameras. Fired no home of her own, because the apartment she rented with a roommate, and the roommate had asked Amelia to move out. No income, no family support. One step, from dream bride to a burden no one wanted to touch. Ella, Amelia's younger sister, still texted me occasionally. She told me that Amelia had to move back in with her parents. Her mother, who had cursed me relentlessly, now avoided mentioning her daughter's name as if it were a plague. Amelia had also tried to text me. Dozens of messages from pleading, "Nathan, please give me a chance to explain," to threatening, "If you don't take down the video, I'll sue you for defamation." Then back to begging, "We used to love each other, remember? We can fix this." I didn't reply. I didn't need to do anything more. The most brutal sentence was her having to face the consequences of her own choices. A week after the would-be wedding, I sat at my usual coffee shop. No one looked at me with pity. On the contrary, I received subtle nods of approval, whispers, "Good for you, man. Everyone should know when to stand up for themselves." I sipped my coffee, watching the people go by. A strange feeling crept into my chest. Not sadness, not regret, but relief. Amelia had seen me as a stepping stone, a temporary rock, a stop on her journey to upgrade her life. But she had forgotten one thing. Some stepping stones refuse to be stepped on. They topple those who despise them. And now, on those ruins, I walked lightly, proudly towards a future that I built with my own hands, without any opportunists clinging on, without any fake apologies. Just me, whole and free. A month passed. Every trace of that failed wedding, of those naive and illusory days, had vanished like smoke. Amelia was still somewhere struggling with the consequences of her own actions. I no longer cared. I had a new life. I decided to sell the old food truck, the truck that had been tied to my initial dreams, but also held too many bitter memories. I used the money to buy a small storefront in the city centre. No more wandering the streets under the scorching sun. No more bowing my head when someone wrinkled their nose at the food truck. Now, when people walked into my shop with the small but proud sign bearing my name, they knew everything here was built with my own two hands, perseverance and the healed scars of the past. I also took time for myself, short trips, Quiet evenings, reading on the porch. Knew people who knew nothing of my past and didn't need to. I wasn't in a rush to fall in love again. I had learned, love isn't something to fill loneliness. It's a reward for those brave enough to walk through the darkness alone. Sometimes sitting in my usual cafe, I still heard people talking in the distance about the scandalous wedding that year. They laughed. They clucked their tongues. I just smiled, because I knew I hadn't lost. I had won in a way that didn't require humiliating anyone, just simply standing up and walking away. One late afternoon, as the sunset painted the small street in gold, I stood in front of my new shop, a warm cup of coffee in my hand. A gentle breeze blew. The leaves rustled like silent applause for those who refused to fall. I closed my eyes, taking a deep breath. No more pain, no more anger, just peace, the peace I had fought to reclaim. Every story, no matter how painful, is just a chapter in the long journey of life. I no longer regretted what was lost. I only cherished what I had found again: self-respect, freedom, and myself. If today's story made you think, please click, like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next journeys. And if you think someone out there needs a reminder that they deserve better, please share this video, because sometimes just one story is enough to change a life. Thank you for listening. See you on the next part of the journey.